All right, testing 1 2 1 2, and we are live. What is up, everyone? There is nobody here right now that says the stream status is poor, which I think is because I tried loading up Minecraft before this. But we're doing good. It's Labor Day. Hope everyone's having a good time. Everyone's having a nice, relaxing day off school or work or wherever you are in life, however you're watching the stream. Hope it's a relaxing day for you. For me, it's been relatively chill. I just got back from Kansas City last night, so I figured I would use my stream today because I did not have time to prepare a video over the weekend. Obviously, just visiting friends back in Kansas City. Watched the Nebraska game, which was super cool. And yeah, I was at the first game that after Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's engagement, which I did not know was happening before I booked this trip. It was I think I booked it about like a year or so ago. So it's cool to be there, cool to see that, cool to watch that game, cool to reconnect with people. Yeah, so hope all of you guys are doing well. Hope all of you guys are having a good Labor Day. And yeah, currently still at 0 viewers. I kind of frame these as as in a sense like a Q&A type of content, but the reality is sometimes I'll just have to come up with stuff on my own, which is okay. We had a few comments recently on some other videos that I thought were helpful, that we could use as a jumping off point to in today's discussion, because I know in other streams I've been a little bit just like waiting on other people to come in and ask questions, and that hasn't always happened, which is fine. We just need to keep building. So yeah, let's just jump into the actual content that I've prepared for today. We'll see how much we get through. We'll see if people start joining. Oh, what up, Charles Newcomb? How's it going? How are you? How is your Labor Day going? Mine's been going pretty well so far. Just did some shopping this morning. Gonna make tacos tonight, so should be a good day. But for today's stream, I just want to go over 2 comments that were left on my videos super recently. Not super intense content. Let me actually zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see it better. Okay, so this comment came in the context of me describing what hypothesis testing is. And in this comment, basically, I'm explaining what hypothesis testing is, and the basic concept behind it is that you perform these tests, and then you figure out the probability that you observe that data would be produced, assuming the null hypothesis is true. And the way that this works in practice, which we'll get into a little bit later, what would happen is if the p-value is low enough, assuming the p-value is low enough, we would reject the null hypothesis. That's how it standardly goes, and that's typically how this tends to go. So basically, I'm going over that in this video. Oh, what's up, Practical Christian Lessons? How are you? This stuff might not be the content but I'm gonna go over a comment under my Canon video later, so that might be more interesting. I might ask you for some questions there because that one I've looked over it a little bit before this as well, and I wasn't. There are different things, but it's kind of talking about the early church, and there were things that I've heard in Gavin Ortland videos that I'm going to try to explain a little bit or just touch on a little bit. But I do want to frame it in terms of just the canon in general. But for this particular comment, we're focusing on p-values. This is under one of my replication crisis videos. So the comment basically says, now, low p-values mean that it's less likely the null hypothesis is true. Correct. I actually have some problems with this phrasing, that even that I made in this video that I'll get into a little bit later. So we say that we would reject the null hypothesis if the p-value is below a certain threshold. And then the commenter says, right there we have the one and crucial failure in understanding what the p-value means. I know that this has been a common practice for a long time. So this sentence, I would defend this point under a certain in a certain sense, which we're going to get into. There's something arbitrary about saying that if the p-value is below a certain threshold, we would reject the null hypothesis. There's something arbitrary about that threshold, which we'll get into. But yes, this is the common practice, and that's what I'm explaining in this video when I'm explaining hypothesis testing is the common practice of hypothesis testing. And the commenter continues saying, this confuses the probability of the data given the hypothesis, first sentence, p-value, with the probability of the hypothesis given the data, not the p-value. There is no direct implication that can give us a value for the latter from the p-value alone. So this is important. Yes, this is, I think they get, yes, this point is correct. This commenter making this point is correct. Oh, hey, Daniel, how's it going? This commenter is correct in saying that we need to be careful when understanding p-values to not assume that it is giving the probability of the hypothesis being true given the data. What we're assuming with a p-value, we're assuming the hypothesis is true, and then saying the probability that we observe that data given the hypothesis is true. So let's be a little bit more concrete here. Say we want to test if a coin is fair. In this context, what we're trying to test, our null hypothesis, is that the coin is fair. So say, for example, we flip a coin 10 times, and we observe that it lands on heads 10 times. The probability of that result occurring, given that the coin is fair, given the hypothesis, is very low. And that's what a p-value is measuring. It actually does not tell us the probability the hypothesis is true. The important thing is the hypothesis, there's no probabilities that you can assign to whether the null hypothesis is true or false. The null hypothesis is either true or false with an 100% probability. It's just a fact that this coin is either fair or not fair. So in this sense, based on what this commenter is saying, and he's correct in his reasoning, I think the conclusion, the way that it's being drawn out, is actually incorrect. He's contradicting himself a little bit here, saying it is fine to say a small p-value makes HO less likely. That's not true, because there's no direct, because of the sentence right before, there's no direct implication that can give you the value for the probability of the hypothesis based on the p-value alone. So it's technically not fine to say that a small p-value makes HO less likely in this context. Now, there's a reason why hypothesis testing works in this way. There's a reason why we say once we get a low enough p-value, we reject the null hypothesis. But yeah, let's finish off this comment and then we can explain. So it is just wrong to say that a small p-value implies that HO is unlikely, the null hypothesis. Why? Because, for example, making it less likely could mean decreasing its likelihood from 99.9% to 99%. So the likelihood that the null hypothesis is true is either 100% or 0%, because it either is true or it's not true. What the p-value tells you is the probability that you observe certain data if observe the data that you observed given the null hypothesis is true. However, the way hypothesis testing works and the premise that it rests on is at some point If you're observing data that is so unlikely, that is extremely unlikely under the null hypothesis to be true, so the p-value would be super low, at some point it becomes unreasonable for you to believe that the null hypothesis is true. For example, if you flip a coin 20 times and it lands on heads every single time, the probability of that happening if the coin is fair, we could literally, it's going to be some saved calculator. The probability that if you flip a coin 20 times and it lands on heads every time, that's extremely low. Let's even go 10, because then we can actually read the number. It's 0.097% chance. Extremely low. So if you flip heads 10 times in a row, it doesn't actually change the probability of the coin being fair, being true. It's either fair or it's not. But it means that at some point, if the data you're observing is so unlikely if the coin is fair, it would not be reasonable for you to continue believing the coin is fair. You should reject your belief that the coin is fair. And that is kind of the whole basis upon which hypothesis testing works. So that's kind of what the point is there. And now, if say you are flipping the coin and you get like heads 4 times in a row, then there's a 6.25% chance of observing that. It's pretty low odds, but like if you flip heads 4 times in a row, the coin could still be fair. It just might be a weird chance of luck that you flipped it 4 times in a row and it lands on heads each time. There has to be some point though where your beliefs. So in this case, you have no reason to, at this point, believe that the null hypothesis is false. So you should fail. So you say you fail to reject the null, because what we're testing here is the null hypothesis and the probability of the null hypothesis. So that's kind of why things are done this way. I think the commenter brings up a good point, but I want to defend this concept, because at some point there could be a p-value that's so low that continuing to believe that the null is true is unreasonable. So you should reject the null hypothesis in that case. Now the threshold that you choose, like whether you need it to be below 5% or below 10%, that's completely arbitrary, and that's kind of a problem that I start discussing later on in this video. It's a 40-minute video, but that's a big point in this video that I talk about. But yeah, and then the other point, I was critiquing this study. If you haven't seen this video, this won't make sense, but he was basically saying what's wrong with reading and understanding by chance alone in this context, as given HO is true. That's clearly what is meant, is it not? What else could it be? In this context, yes, it would be correct to read by chance alone as meaning assuming the null hypothesis is true, because the idea behind the p-value would be, like in this context, by chance alone, you flip 4 heads, and that would give you your p-value. The problem is it's crucial. A crucial aspect of what a p-value is the fact that you're testing a certain hypothesis. I think the language that we use when talking about that, it could be misleading if we just assume like by chance alone is the correct interpretation. It could be by chance alone under the null hypothesis, under the alternative hypothesis that the coin isn't fair. Any of these worlds could be true. I think the problem with selection B is... Oh, wait. Is it selection B? Yeah. So the problem with that selection is... Oh wait, choice C was the one that's correct. Sorry. The probability is greater than 1 in 20 that a difference this large could occur by chance. Oh, it's yeah. So it's P greater than 0.05. Sorry, I didn't remember the question. But the problem with by chance alone is that it's not specifying that distribution. Okay, so that is what I have to say for this particular video. For these comments, I think that was helpful. There's also some comments under here just about other stuff, but I've responded to a lot of these. And then, yeah, so that is that video. I just wanted to go over the most recent comment under that. Now this one, okay, this one is going to be a bit more of an interesting discussion because some of this is like more of my Christian content, and a lot of that is more me starting to delve into the space and work through some of these issues. So this particular commenter in this context brings up a lot of particular issues that I haven't spent a ton of time on. Yes, I mean some of these I think are a little more straightforward, but I really need to spend time like digging into the church fathers, and I've heard all these quotes from all these different sides, and that is somewhat a big driver of what is leading me to be Protestant, because I don't think that the early church spoke with one unified voice, which is what we'll get into in this comment. But let's go through and look at what this commenter is saying. So this is my video on the canon issue, basically the question of whether or not the Protestant canon, or whether or not the Protestants can have a canon of Scripture without it being infallibly defined. How do Protestants know what books are in the Bible? We believe in sola scriptura. How do we actually know what Scripture is? So a very foundational problem. Catholic and Orthodox Christians bring this up all the time. But let's get into this. So the problem I have with your argument is that you claim the ancient churches are kicking the can by shirking the responsibility of being inerrant off to the magisterium, while ending your argument with saying, we believe the Holy Spirit providentially guided the canon to be inerrant. I don't know if I understand this first part. I'm not arguing that the ancient churches are kicking the can down the road. More of what I'm arguing is that the current Catholic Church and Orthodox Church, by demanding infallibility in the definition of the books of the Bible, is ultimately kicking the can down the road, with the responsibility of being infallible. Scripture is infallible, but you can define that list as fallible. So I'm not entirely sure I understand the first part of this argument. But basically the belief is that, yes, the Holy Spirit providentially guided the canon to ultimately be inerrant, or actually, no, not necessarily the case. I don't think that the canon itself is necessarily inerrant, though I believe the books within them and the teaching that will be preserved through them can be inerrant, or like the what Scripture is saying is ultimately inerrant. I think there are many different canons, and I don't necessarily even believe that the canon needs to necessarily be closed. I think that the deuterocanonical books can provide value, and they were quoted throughout the early church. But I think there's something unique and special about those, I believe 66 books that actually did end up being defined or generally are accepted by Protestants, because there's not like this question of definition in the Protestants. But I think that those are like the 66 that ended up being largely accepted by the Protestants. I believe that the Holy Spirit would providentially guide those books to ultimately be accepted and not as disputed in the early church. And I think there can be questions on the sides, like with the particular deuterocanonical books. But I think ultimately, like, I don't think it's wrong to say that the Holy Spirit providentially guided Christians to develop an understanding of like which books are orthodox and preserve orthodox teaching. Um, we believe that too, but we believe that all of our theological and traditional beliefs are not just of the canon, and not just of the canon because the Holy Spirit guided the church by means of His providence. So this is ultimately the claim: is that all of the theological and traditional beliefs, not just the canon, are guided by the Holy Spirit. I guess the question I would have, like, is this person Orthodox or Catholic? Which particular traditions are the traditions that the early church preserved? I don't think that the early church is unified on many of these issues at all, and I think the canon is a particular one where it's clearly not unified. Jerome had his own canon that aligned more with the Protestants, and then all these other church fathers had their own canons that aligned with all these different areas and all these different beliefs, and people accepted some books and not others. So I hesitate to believe that there's this concept that the early church, that all the beliefs that are believed by these modern Catholic or Orthodox churches are just the theological and traditional beliefs of the church, of the early church. And I think things can be wrong. I think things can develop. I think there can be new things that come into existence, especially like different Marian dogmas, like the Assumption of Mary. And then, it opens up a much broader problem for the Protestant, because if the councils, which merely recognized what was inerrant in the canon as early as Rome, Hippo, and Carthage, and that recognition included the Deuterocanon, why does your canon not include it as well? I would need to look into the specific canons that were proposed in those councils, but my understanding is that there was not a formal recognition of a canon until the Council of Trent. I don't think, like, there were certain things mentioned, there were certain lists mentioned in these councils, I believe, but I don't think that there was anything inherently defined in those early church councils. I think other people had their own views of the canons. Some viewed certain books as helpful for teaching, but some things that you shouldn't necessarily give to new converts. So there were different levels to the canon viewed in the early church. But even more damning, if the Holy Spirit guided the church by providence, which specific time-tested traditions weren't providentially guided? Arguably, it would just be the non-essential doctrines. I think there are certain essential doctrines and essential books that all Christians believe in, and I think that the Holy Spirit guided these particular traditions, guided these particular things, and there were other side issues that different people interpreted differently, but they might not be as essential. Different people could disagree on things, even view them as essential, but maybe these aren't as essential. I'm not entirely sure what is necessarily guided by the Holy Spirit versus what is not guided. Okay, so moving on, the participants in both the earliest and the latest councils on the canon of Scripture were saint venerators who believed the Eucharist was the body and blood of Christ in substance and not merely in presence, and who believed that Rome was the first among equals, among other unique beliefs that you may not hold as a Protestant. So with regards to saint veneration, I think there are questions on, and Gavin Ortlund talks about this a lot, so I'm probably going to defer to him on some of the things with like icon veneration, different things like that. I think there's more questions in the early church as to what is the case. Now I know at, I believe, Nicaea II, those who didn't venerate icons were anathematized. Now I think that may go against some of what the early church would argue, and I think it goes against just the spirit of the Bible, especially in like the Old Testament, with idolatry being one of the main issues and main concerns that the ancient Jews fell back into over and over and over again. And then who believed the Eucharist was the body and blood of Christ in substance and not merely in presence. That I would dispute. I think there are quotes from the early fathers, and I go into this in my Eucharist video, talking about how there's a earthly and heavenly reality present in the body and blood of Christ. And I mean, even the Orthodox have a less systematized view than the Catholics. I think there is a real presence there. I would debate that the substance fundamentally changes. I think there is the real presence of Christ there, potentially physically, if you hold more of a Lutheran view, though I don't know if that's necessary to believe, and who believe that Rome was the first among equals. I mean, this is just all the papal stuff. We talked about this a little bit in my last live stream. I don't think that the granting Peter the keys to the kingdom verse does as much as they think it does. And then there is still the Orthodox Church who continues existing without Rome. They view Rome as in schism from them. There's no need for a submission to Rome. Among other unique beliefs that you may not hold as a Protestant. I think there's nuance to all of these things. In the early church, obviously, Rome was respected because Rome had a history of orthodoxy, of having correct belief throughout the early church. So Rome obviously had respect. It was a powerful city and obviously a powerful church. So it obviously at the time, maybe those bishops were viewed as more important. But I think there's also issues where, like, in certain councils, the Pope is charged for, is called a heretic. And whether he's vindicated or not, that's the mind of the early church, is that you can condemn the Pope, the Bishop of Rome. And also, from your comment, I actually don't know if you're Catholic or Orthodox. I think mentioning specifically these two lines makes me guess that you're Catholic, but I actually don't know. So, by the Catholics, okay, but yeah, but that's not necessarily relevant. If those are wrong to some varying degrees, what basis do you have to claim that one is providential and the other is not, when the whole lot of them are still practiced by the Catholics at the least? Is that not providential itself? Well, no, because many Christians, many members of the church, do not continue to practice these things. In your view, there's certain essential doctrines that much of the church is simply lost to the church. Is not practiced anymore. Is that not providential itself? Maybe. I think that the endurance of Catholicism and the endurance of Christianity more broadly speaks to it as being guided by the Holy Spirit and being a true faith. I have questions about new things that may be popping up over time, but I think even like the Protestant Reformation was like 500 years ago. So it's not like this is not a lasting tradition. These churches are lasting just as much as the Catholic Church is. Not as long, but arguably the Catholic Church was founded in the second millennium after it split from the Orthodox Church. Which is, you don't necessarily have a standard if you're not Orthodox to, whether you're Catholic or Orthodox, to say which one goes all the way back to Christ. In the Protestants' view, you guys all split from us, but no, but I think a branch theory just makes a lot more sense. But okay, but what isn't providential cannot last. Well, the problem is, like, they argue all these things, but like Protestantism has lasted, Catholicism has lasted. I think what we see among Catholicism and Orthodoxy and all of this is people splitting off. Like the church, this specific church as universal and as claiming to be the one true church, that doesn't last. So maybe under that standard, that's not providential either. Either all of it, either it's all guided or none of it is, and picking and choosing is unfortunately going to become a circular argument. So I also think this point that either it's all guided or none of it is, that I don't find that to be an argument that makes sense. Because the issue is the early church disagrees with itself on many things, and councils have disagreements. Councils contradict each other at times. So this whole idea like, oh, we just believe the councils, I think it opens you up to a lot of scrutiny and a lot of inability to actually figure out what's true or what's not. And ultimately, picking and choosing is the least arbitrary answer. What basis do you have to claim one is providential and other is not? This is why the Protestants have sola scriptura. That's why we argue that we need the Bible to be this infallible thing. We check it against the Bible. If anything, if there's any developments or anything in church history where infallible men are making proclamations that they're claiming are infallible, but they go against Scripture, we should side with Scripture. It is the testament of the earliest of apostles. So that would be a basis to claim whether one is providential or one is not. The church can develop itself and draw itself away from the testament of the apostles and draw itself away from the teachings of the apostles. That's why we need sola scriptura. That's why we need an infallible check on the system. And I think the Holy Spirit can providentially guide the church, to correct belief, but I don't think that the church is infallible. I don't think that every decision, proclamation made by the church is ultimately divinely inspired in the same way that the Bible is. There can be mistakes made, and for that reason we need Holy Scripture. We need something that is truly inspired and truly infallible to check these churches against, to bring them back into orthodoxy, to bring them back into orthodox belief. Yeah, at the very last comment, yeah, good video though. God bless you in your walk with him. Thank you for that at the end. I really do appreciate when people are kind, and I thought this was a very helpful and thoughtful comment, and I hope I did well in explaining it and addressing kind of how I think about this issue. Obviously, I'm new to Christianity, and just trying to really work through these issues, really wrestle with these issues. And I could be, who knows, in a few years, I could be in a completely different headspace, have completely different arguments, and God bless you in your walk with him as well. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's this walk and continuing to learn, continuing to grow, and continuing to wrestle with God and the history of the church, and trying to wrestle with what Christ actually wants from us. And I think that is a journey and a wrestling that is worth spending the rest of your life dedicating yourself to, is just wrestling with these issues and trying to think them through. But yeah. And interestingly, right down here, we have Gavin Ortlund talking about a fallible list of infallible books 11 months ago. I feel like I would have watched this video. Maybe not, though. That could be a good one to watch. Charles, what is up? How's it going? Charles says he's back. Maybe I could just react to Gavin. I feel like that's a little that feels a little like what's the word? I know a word that I could use. I don't know if I want to be crass. It feels like a circle jerk. Yeah, if I just react to people who agree with me. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that particular comment. We'll see if more people hop in, have more to say. Then I could watch the Gavin video at some point. Depending on what people have to ask or say or talk about. But yeah, usually these streams are only about an hour long anyways, so yeah. Let's see. The chat has been a little bit quieter today than other times, but I know 2 weeks ago when I did this video, all that I had was like bots and stuff like that hopping in and trying to get attention. I feel. Yeah, it's interesting how like I'm like looking at how the stream is looking at my as the actual. Oh wait, I gotta click live. Okay. Nice, we're doing good. Oh wait, I wonder if other people are chatting like in the live chat. No, we don't have anyone. Okay. Nice, but we got one viewer. Yeah, I hope everyone's day is going well. It says there's some errors, like some poor stream health going on. I hope that takes care of itself in due time. What I really need is donations. I need a better computer. A computer that can actually run and doesn't have poor stream health constantly. That's what I need. But no, it's okay. Charles has been good. Hope everything is well with you. I feel like the stream must be so far behind. If he's just responding now. Start my second to last semester tomorrow. That's exciting. Graduating soon. Let's go. Oh wait. Oh yeah, it's fall. School's starting. Dude, my little brother is going to the same college as me now. Let's go. He just started his freshman year, studying the same thing, same college. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah. What are you majoring in, Charles? I don't know if I've ever asked you that. I feel like you've always kind of been in this chat, hanging around talking about stuff. Back since the objectivist days. Oh, it's not behind, just texting someone else. Oh, no worries, no worries. That's exciting. But yeah, trying to think, what should I talk about? For some reason, radiologic technology. Let's look that up. Medical imaging. Oh wait, that could be a good. Do you have to go to med school for that? Oh, okay, interesting. That seems interesting. I wonder how much do radiologic technologists make? Okay, that's a good job. That's a good job. Nice. Yeah, once you get experience, got some good upward movement too, it looks like. Then you're around all these doctors, I'd imagine. 2-year training program, okay. That makes sense. That's interesting though. I feel like that's good pay for like getting a 2-year degree. That's cool. yeah, I don't know. My job, it's just an office job. It's just a math job. School is free. Oh, geez. Okay. I wish. Well, technically, I did get scholarships to where they were paying me in the end, but I still had to move. I still had to pay rent. Especially in the first year, I was definitely paying a lot for school, which at the time it felt like relatively a lot, but really now it feels a lot smaller. Like the rent is so much smaller on campus than it is in California. Yeah, it's crazy just to crazy what you have to pay just to live somewhere today. But hey, that's life. What would be cool is if I could make money from this, from the YouTube grind. Let's go. Unlikely, but hey, we still keep posting. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I've kind of accepted the fact that this YouTube channel is just kind of going to be a hobby for me for the near to mid to potentially long-term future. Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing this for long enough to kind of realize, like, yeah, I'll get a little bit of growth here and there, and then, yeah, when was my first video? 6 years ago. Wait, I want to react to this. Let's do a reaction to my first video. Did you bench 3 plates yet? No, I started to train. I started to train for half marathons, and then my bench kind of fell off a little bit. I'm still like in the like mid 2 plates range. Like I feel like I can still obviously do like 2 plates in a 25. I'm not at 3 plates yet, though. I definitely stagnated a little bit. But I need to get it back on the lifting grind. That's actually... It's good you remind me of that, actually, because now I feel like, what am I doing? Yeah, no, I've just been running. I ran 10 miles this morning, and then I have a half marathon on October 5th, I think, is my half marathon. Let me double check that. Yes, October 5th. I actually don't know what the map looks like, but I'll look at all that later. Strict OHP. What is strict OHP? 185. Overhead press. Oh, wow. Dude, you're strong. Holy shit. 185 overhead press and 545 deadlift the last few weeks. Yeah. Dude, that's a good deadlift too. I'm not very good at deadlift. My squat is like right around the same as my deadlift is. Yeah, and then I kind of stopped doing deadlift because I felt like I could never get the form exactly. I would just always fuck up my back. Though when I've done it again lately, it's been a lot better. Yeah, I don't think I've tried like maxing out overhead press. I feel like, I don't know. I don't actually know what I could do. Proof is on my channel. Ooh, we gotta see that. Let's see it. Oh wait, where is the? Oh, I see the deadlift. Let's go. Let's shout out your channel quick. I see the deadlift. Let's go. 545. That's good. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, that's cool. Nice, just like a nice lifting channel. I should do that. That'd be nice. Dunk basketball. Sorry, I thought this said drunk. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. Dunk basketball. Oh, let's see the dunk. Let's see the dunk. Oh, is it gonna load? Uh-oh. It's not loading. Oh, there we go. Let's go! Okay. Let's go. That's so hype. Yeah, go subscribe to, if you're watching this, go subscribe to Charles Newcomb, 3739. That's hype. Dude, I should start posting lifts on my channel. That'd be dope. Do you have like a indoor gym, like at your house? That's cool. I should start doing that. Okay. Ooh, let's watch my first video. This is the first video I ever made. Let's turn on my little thanks. No problem, no problem. Let's watch the first video that I ever made. Let's see if you guys can hear this too. Wait. Oh wait, shoot. A little bit of. Hello everybody and welcome to my very first video. Today, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about the purpose of me making this channel, since I don't want to just start dropping videos randomly and just without telling you a little bit about what I'm doing here. So, this channel is going to be a politics and philosophy channel where I just express my ideas. At the moment, I'd consider myself a student of objectivism, since I'm about a year into considering myself an objectivist, and I haven't read everything that I need to read yet to be as smart as like a Leonard Peikoff or Ayn Rand, which I'll probably never get to that point, but I digress. The purpose for me making this I got to that point. I'm smarter than Leonard Peikoff and Ayn Rand.
Sorry. Verbal clarity when I'm expressing my ideas. So the main point of this channel is just to help me practice expressing ideas in a more effective way. This isn't my life. This isn't what I'm trying to do with my life. So it's just more of a side thing. So don't really care about monetization or followers or anything. I'm just gonna make these videos because this is fun for me, just to talk into a microphone and express my ideas. I'm planning on uploading videos about once or twice a week to begin with, just until I can get some consistency and just see how it goes. I have no idea how this is going to go right now, so yeah, and hopefully by the time I upload this video, I'll have a backlog of videos so that I can just upload slowly one at a time, like once a week, and just see how it feels just to upload videos and just see how long it takes me to develop and upload and record and do all that stuff. Yeah, this is a pretty short video compared to what I'm planning on doing, but yeah, I think that's about it for what I was trying to say here. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Let's go. That's so fun. Oh. Got a Testify video coming out. That's so hype. Literally the same guy. Literally the same guy. This is just a side thing, guys. Don't care about monetization. And then I plan on once a week.
Hours of mowing.
Microphone is still quiet. I think I was far from the microphone when I was talking. Definitely sounds like a first video. Gotta love it. I love that video. Oh man. I gotta find more of my old content to react to. I don't know how quiet that was for you guys, but I felt like that was fun. Man, that's crazy. That was so long ago. Oh man, I love this. Okay. Is abortion murder? Why refutation of the arbitrary requires no argument. How voluntary taxation would work. I feel like I got a comment under why the refutation of the arbitrary requires no argument. I think I talked about God in that video. Good video, very relaxing. Dude, that's so funny. That's so funny. This is like my this was literally 9 months ago. This was like my third video. I had paint pulled up. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Man, it's all the same. It's all coming back. Had some crazy diagram. Man, it's crazy how it all kind of comes together. Still kind of doing the same thing now. But yeah, honestly, in reality, it all kind of comes back to where it once was. I ended up in my new sorry, in my new version of my channel, kind of building something that was almost more in the spirit of my first video than what I ended up. I kind of like devolved into some like into just like this politics streamer. Because yeah, I spent so much time talking about politics. That's crazy. I was just trying my hardest to like come up. See, these were all the like daily videos, like, and just like that's a funny thumbnail for the video. That's so funny. But that's crazy. I was doing like these like 3 to 10 minute videos back then. It's all so much shorter, so much quicker. I really got to the point. I really got to the point a lot faster. This video, that video, this is the video that changed everything. Yeah, getting into like all the drama. Man. Sorry, you guys might be getting bored, but this is all fun to look at. You know, right before I like started my channel up again, I was literally like, I went through at one point and privated every single one of my videos. Just because I was like, I don't feel like this doesn't really represent me anymore. This doesn't really represent what I think. And then around the same time is when I decided, you know, actually, I'll keep this up and I'll just create new videos until it covers up everything. This is a weird video. Weird objectivist arguing gimp suits are anti-objectivist or something. And then yeah, started like 9 months ago, and I've made a lot of content this year. Oh my gosh. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I miss the old Garrett Mayer. Oh, should I react to another one of my old videos? I wonder if people want that. Let's react to... Wait, let's just go to popular. Oh, shoot. I don't know if I need to react to that one. My roommate's brother was like a philosophy major and responded to that, and like put a comment under that video actually. Yeah, all my most popular videos are all these Nick Fuentes videos. Literally it's all hate watchers. And then this one actually got a lot of views, but it was all hate watchers again, like all the time. It's crazy. I feel like the best way to get views on content is to just make stuff that people are gonna get pissed about. Like if I really wanted to make a good video, I don't know. I would need to talk about Nick Fuentes again. Honestly, Nick Fuentes hates Christianity. That would get some good views. Man, should I react to this again? This could be a good reaction. Let's unmute myself. Let's watch this.
And so I hear people talking all the time about socialism is the biggest threat to our country. America will never be a socialist nation. America will never fall to communism. You know what? I would any day of the fucking week have America become a communist country, full-on Stalinism, than what we're doing right now, or what we've been doing for the past 50 years. Sorry for the language, but seriously, I would rather have Bernie Sanders be president for 1,000 years.
Is this just gonna be a marathon stream, lol?
If we cannot be doing what
Yeah, maybe, honestly. This could just be
we're
hours
doing right
of
now
talking.
with immigration. You know,
You could just watch all of my old videos.
Then what the fuck are you trying to conserve, Nick?
See, I feel like I thought this was so much more dramatic when I came in. Had the pause. Like, then what the fuck are you trying to conserve?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video.
I don't know.
Saw this video or this clip of Nick Fuentes on Twitter the other day, and I figured this is something that I should respond to, because this is something that people like me, most other objectivists have been saying about Nick Fuentes for the longest time. What the fuck is he trying to conserve? This man is not pro-Western. This is not someone who believes in Western values and preserving Western civilization like he always talks about. It's absurd to claim that sort of thing. What are you trying to conserve? Just look at this video. He says, "I would rather have communism than what we have now, as long as we prevent these immigrants from coming in." What's so bad about these immigrants, Nick? Is it the crime? I mean, that's been disproven. Is it the economic impact? That's entirely positive. Is it the cultural values? What cultural value?
Man, the start of the video, you could tell I was like nervous, kind of the nervous laugh. I don't know, I'm very like I've seen this video enough now, like where I can just be self-critical. I was so young and just like trying to just get in there and be like, yeah, but just get in there and just be like very passionate and trying very hard. But I don't know, this video hit the wrong audience. But
do they not have that you want?
I wonder if I say anything like hateful of Christianity in this.
Western civilization is all about.
Oh, stream is kind of laggy.
Mexicans are mostly Catholics, Nick. They're just like you. They're culturally the same. What other reasons could there?
True. Mexicans are Catholic and racist. They're literally Nick Fuentes.
There be?
No, I'm playing. I don't know.
Is it the skin color? It couldn't be that. You're not a racist, Nick. You're not a racist. You wouldn't ever make that type of argument. You're not on the alt-right. You don't hate people with different skin colors. You just want to preserve culture, don't you? Preserve Western civilization. But what is Western civilization, Nick? What is it? Is it the Christianity? Obviously not, because then you'd be perfectly fine with Mexicans. Mexicans are very religious, Nick. Mexicans are very religious.
The mannerisms. The mannerisms get me a little bit. It's okay.
What is it? Is it the individualism? I mean, that seems to be the thing that has made Western civilization what it is. Look at the Industrial Revolution. That was when we fully implemented individualism, fully implemented capitalism. That's what made the West rise above everything else. But that's not what you want, is it, Nick? Because you're willing to sacrifice all of that to prevent immigration. A common argument I hear from you guys is basically
the video's lagging a bit.
These immigrants, they
That's
come
interesting.
with different political beliefs than the right. They come as being anti-capitalist, and for that reason we shouldn't let them in. Then why the fuck should we let you in? Why should we let you in this country, Nick?
This swearing's a little much. I need to. Yeah, I think I was a little like
I'm sure this is all irony, like all your other videos, like the ones where you ironically talk about the cookie question, where where you at the very end, to say that it's all irony, you say, "Oh, I believe everything the government says," sarcastically. So is that really irony, Nick? Is it really irony? But whatever. I'm just pointing out little things that I see. And this video is one little thing that I saw. And it seems to me that you're willing to sacrifice Western civilization in order to save it, which is absolutely absurd. What the fuck do you want to preserve? What is it that you want to conserve so bad? I don't know. The only thing that I can see that you seem to want to conserve is the race, is the demographics. But what is the value of demographics? What is the value of that if these people assimilate after 1 or 2 generations? Like, they very quickly assimilate to the culture. I'm not advocating for multiculturalism where nobody assimilates. And immigrants tend to assimilate. Just look at history. But, I mean, that's not something you seem to be interested in if you're advocating for communism in America and advocating for Christianity in America. Look at history. Look at the Dark Ages. Christianity was the dominant force at the time, and
Ooh, here's the atheism coming in. Let's go.
no innovation. It was just terrible living for everybody. Look at communism. That's the other system that you seem to be advocating right now. Millions of dead people, millions of starved people. It's not a very good system. It seems that you are opposed to anything individualistic, anything that is actually pro-Western. So you're not a savior of Western civilization, Nick. You're the one who's trying to destroy it. So people like you, your kind of people, don't belong in this country. Don't belong in this civilization.
Let's go.
It's
That's
very
funny.
ironic that you are
That's
the
so
same
funny.
people who claim to want to get rid of the people that are trying to destroy the West. Get them out of this country. Don't let them in. While you are the people who are advocating for the destruction of the West, advocating to pull us back in time towards the Dark Ages, advocating to take back all of our progress that we've made during the Industrial Revolution. I mean, you're someone who generally, I would say, is on the side of Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson is very much opposed to capitalism.
That's so funny. Dude, that's so funny that I'm like associating him with Tucker Carlson after like all the stuff that went down recently, but low-key at the time, I mean, it's not a bad comparison, but they're both feds, so
I'm opposed to
imagine that's the reality of the situation. Like Fuentes and Tucker are both feds,
the internet, opposed
and they're just accusing each other of it.
to self-driving cars, all this innovation. He's very opposed to it. He wants to see the nation as a family and destroy any sense in which we respect the individual. He wants to destroy
No, guys, Nick, you're FBI, Tucker CIA. You're the same side. You just need to communicate.
everything that's made America great. So this whole Make America Great Again, America First movement, what you're really doing is bringing us back to the Dark Ages, bringing us back to a time before innovation, back to a time before the individual's rights were respected, before the time when the individual mind could
See, a lot of like the very like objectivist, atheistic, like like the West was terrible, and then individualism came in and saved everything. The West was like going up in Greece and Rome, and then plunged deep in the Dark Ages when there was no progress. The progress meter for the West was like, and then it skyrocketed in the Industrial Revolution. It's a bit of a simplification, but I know like the objectivists in my audience would love to believe that that's the case. But individualism has come with huge issues in its own right in the modern day. I think there's a huge absence of God in the modern world that has really taken us away from who we are and who we're supposed to be as individuals. But we have a lot of stuff now. I'm sure that's great. But
pursue for itself, could achieve for itself. And look at what you're doing. You're taking away all of that. This is what I mean when I say that the Groypers are the people who really oppose Western values. This is what I mean. Communism is extremely anti-West. I mean, look at in every way it's been implemented. It's extremely pro-collectivism. It has a very mystical view of history. Just look into Marx a little bit, and you'll see that. It's absolutely
Mystical
it's
view
the
of
most
history.
anti-West system you could possibly.
I don't think I'd looked into Marx enough to
It's the most
think that.
anti-West
I think I just knew it was
possible.
like connected to Hegel.
And you're advocating that so in order to like save the West from the immigrants. I don't think the immigrants are as much of a threat to the West as communism is. And if you disagree with that, you need to really rethink your priorities. Rethink how you define the West. Because I know for a fact that the Groyper definition of the West is not a very good definition of the West. Because what makes the West great is not its Christianity. It's not its communistic ideals that were created by Western philosophers like Marx and all the people who were similar to him. It's not the opposition to reason. It's none of that. All those you can find in any other civilization. Mexico, I mean the country that you hate all the immigrants coming from so much, Mexico is very much a Christian nation.
Oh, I'm going back to that.
So why
I don't know. The Christianity is a little interesting in Mexico.
But you guys always talk about how these people are going to ruin capitalism, take away individualism, all the great things that the West achieved. But you're the same people advocating to do the same. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching this video back and just seeing like all of just the objectivism and all those objectivist presuppositions coming in, and like the objectivist view of history and all of that stuff. Like I don't know, there's a very specific kind of capitalism and specific kind of market system being advocated for that I think it's a little bit of a simplistic view of history. And then it's this very black and white, like it's communism versus capitalism, and then all this immigrant stuff has nothing to do with it and no importance at all. And I don't know. I kind of have boring opinions on like stuff like immigration now, so I don't know how relevant any of that actually is to this discussion. Like I don't know. I'm a bit more boring on these sort of topics now. I still have a generally like favorable attitude towards immigration, but obviously it shouldn't be. It should be like slightly restrained, and we should let anyone and everyone come over without letting us know. Like all the illegal immigration is a bit of an issue. But yeah, I think my opinions on that are a bit more boring now than they used to be. I think what's more interesting is the very like atheist materialistic view on history. We lost a lot in the over secularization of the West. We lost a lot of heritage. We lost a lot of our traditions. We lost a lot of our spirituality, and all of that stuff. But remember my very young liberal 20s very much the same way. Yeah, I think it's easier to miss that, to miss the deep need for religion and the deep loss that Western civilization has faced when you are still young and in your early 20s, and everything is kind of in your head, and you're playing all these like games like with your thought, and everything makes so much sense, and everything seems so clear in your own eyes, and it's really not. The wisdom of the generations that come before, I think, is very valuable. And there's a reason why faith has been so central for so many years. I think we need to be careful about just abandoning religion and abandoning faith. And I think there's a deep, and I don't know if there's a good way to address it. Like just getting more stuff isn't really the answer. It feels like everyone's trying to replace God with something else. And then, I mean, we're seeing it now, like with AI, and how excited everyone gets about how how productive it's going to make us, and how much it's going to improve society and our material living and all of this. And it's just driving us, it's also at the same time just driving us deeper into technological dependence. Like, it's mimicking the very way we think about things now. There's so many people now that are dependent on AI to think for them and using AI as therapists. Like, I watched a video about an article on this girl who used ChatGPT kind of as a therapist to open up to, and ChatGPT ultimately wrote her suicide note. And all of this, and like, we're just able to use AI now to fix all of these social needs, and it doesn't make anything better. It doesn't ultimately fix the deep spiritual hunger that we have within us. Man, I need to read my Bible more. Talking about all this stuff, and it's like, I don't know, I'm still working, still striving, still trying to be a good Christian in this world. And I mean, I fall short constantly, but there's something more that we're striving towards. I don't know. Just getting so reflective now. Yeah. I don't know. This is more of what I think about nowadays rather than politics. As it turns out, humanity was not ready for AI, lol. Yeah, I remember. I remember talking about. I remember talking about this like very early on when AI was coming out, and I just remember like some of my concerns weren't valid yet, but I remember being very concerned about us depending on it so much, us being so dependent on it to think for us. And I see myself falling into that too. There's times where I'll just, like, I have a question or I want to talk about something right now. AI is just available, ready to talk, always friendly, always open to talking. So it's easy to just ask it a question rather than Google or have a discussion with it, try to have it help it solve your problems. And a big problem with that, on one hand, it's just not that good. It's overly affirming. It simply tries to predict how the average person would respond to your question. It's not really thinking. It's not really grappling with what you're talking about. So in one sense, it's just not that good at responding. But in another sense, its constant availability, your ability to just constantly use it to think about things and its affirming nature on you, there's something almost, it feels dangerous about it. We can let it shape our thoughts in a way that I don't know if we should be letting it. Like, it's fine, like, you talk with a friend and you learn something from them, and you I'm trying to think like, you talk to a friend, your friend can help you think through something, you can chat about stuff, but you view them kind of as, like, fallible, like, you disagree with them on occasion, like, they're not always going to give you the best advice, whereas AI, like, it comes across so confident, and it's like, it feels like you're searching for something on the internet, like you treat it almost as an authority when you're talking to it, when that's really not how it should be or how you should think about it. And then people develop these like parasocial relationships with AI. I saw this dramatized in one of the South Park episodes, which I thought was really interesting. And it was the one with, I think it was the second one, where Randy was talking with ChatGPT about like Tegrity Farms and making it this startup tech company and yeah, it's weird, but it's just like these terrible ideas, and yeah, I don't know. You treat it as like, oh, it's so smart, it's gonna help me solve all these problems, but really it's literally just the same as like collaborating with another person. But now we're gonna like kind of take away collaboration. We're what's the word I'm looking for? Pushing away, turning to the side. I don't know. There's a word. There's a very specific word I'm looking for, but it's like you're doing away with collaboration and doing away with talking to another person about your problems because ChatGPT is available and agreeable and friendly. But yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that. Have you heard Dr. Mike's take on religion, the fitness dude? I don't know if I have. I don't know who this is. Is it this guy? He has something called My Objective Religion. It's not this. Hold up. Let me show you. You guys probably can't hear this. Is it this guy? My Objective Religion? Bald dude. Yeah, is it this guy? Let me know if you guys can see it. How to join the phone? I'm suspicious of this guy already, like talking about religion, but he's a fitness guy. What does he believe? Okay. It's a clickbait title. Okay. I want to hear what he has to say though. Oh, it's an hour-long video though. I don't know if I have time to respond to this. Let me just read the comments. So I can finally justify to my family the shrine of Dr. Mike. As a lifelong Israelite of the Israelitism faith, I approve this message. Congrats on inventing secular humanism. Seem like nothing more than a mixture of American pragmatism and transhumanism. And I play by what you're saying about extreme survival and what I see is the internal battle within every individual. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, what's his credentials, if any? Oh yeah, is he even a doctor? He obviously probably doesn't have credentials to talk about like religious topics, but what are his credentials as like a fitness guy? Is he just PhD in gains? Bro has his PhD in gains. Let's go. That's his second channel. Oh man, he like goes into a whole bunch of stuff. Like he's getting into a... Wait, is this guy a fitness guy or like a politics guy? The rise of modern porn. Do opposites really attract? Should we grant AI civil rights? Man, the videos are so long, so I don't know what's worth like watching. No, I haven't seen this guy. He's a sports doctor. But I mean, all this stuff seems interesting. Why we must push AI to be as smart as possible. Is he is he like a big pro AI guy? So yeah, these are all just my thoughts, like scrolling through his channel. I don't know if there's time to watch anything because I'm probably gonna head out pretty soon. But conscientiousness is better. The myth of multitasking. See, some of this might be good. Oh, porn isn't that bad. I don't know if that's good. Porn is pretty bad. How to behave in society. Solving the AI alignment. Dude talks a lot about AI. His main channel is RP. Wait, what? Like R? Do you mean RIP or big lie of overpopulation? Rap music is morally reprehensible. What are GPTs? It's a PhD in sport physiology. Oh, I don't want that, please. He's a professor. I don't know if that's true. Let's just look at this. He trained with Half Thor this week. See, I don't know who any of these people are. You're like the fitness guy here. Dr. Michael Izzartelli, PhD, co-founder of and chief content officer of Renaissance Periodization. In the face as a former sport nutrition the Olympic training site in Johnson City. Oh, his main channel is RP. Okay, RP is a thing. RP YouTube. Okay, it's this. Renaissance Periodization. Interesting. This is like a deep dive hole that I could go down. Deep dive into who this guy is. We're gonna get music or sound playing. Oh no. What women really want in a physique. Bro's getting his incel clicks on that. Oh no, that's for me. That's not good. YouTube wants me to be an incel. Oh, this is probably a good video. Expose V-Shred. I remember going on a deep dive on this guy. V-Shred is not worth it. Thor tries bodybuilding. Oh, this guy's huge. I could be that. I could look like that. Give me a month. You'll see me back here and I'll look like that. Okay, I'll watch my objective religion and get back to you. From the comments, I feel like he's just going to be saying some, like... He's going to give, like, his framework for how he thinks about things, and it's just going to be some... I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe let's watch the beginning. Unmute.
Folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Lecture number 75. I've spoken
First
about
3
this
minutes.
a little bit extensively in the first lecture, though, Scott, that still has age restriction on it. Maybe? Yeah. Maybe we can appeal at some point, but may or may not have seen our first lecture ever. Kind of sets up a lot of this, but I'm leaning into it more and more because of some trends I'm seeing and some thinking I've been doing. But basically today's topic is, I think it's possible to have a religion that is objective or very, very objective. And I think that maybe I'm not the first person to articulate these points, but they're so unarticulated in the grand scheme of folks discussing morality and their connection to the world and understanding of what they are in life, that at least me saying this in my own...
What does he mean by... I think there's a way to have a religion that's objective. Is Christianity not objective enough for you? Okay, let's...
way
let's
is maybe marginally helpful. And
like it's giving like the cult of reason from the French Revolution. That's like the vibe that I get from like my objective religion. I think it's possible to have a religion that's objective, a religion around what is actually rational, a religion like it's like the very but that's kind of my initial like skepticism when I hear stuff like this. Because I don't think there is a objective.
at best I can become a cult leader, which is oddly...
I don't have I don't think that religion can be objective without Christ, but
It honestly seems insanely unappealing because everyone always has like weird long hair and wears muumuus and I don't know. Ugh. In any case,
I know it's been 20 seconds. But
Imagine being able to build an app
my
with your
gosh.
name on it. Just
I'm the reactor here. Chill. I'm giving you my initial take. All right, I'm the reactor. I could be completely wrong.
we're talking about an objective religion, and I think I've sort of discovered one. You think that's crazy, and maybe you're
It's
right.
Christianity.
But let's set up the discussion. So we have religions of ancestry. There are many of them. Some of the most popular ones are Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism, and so on and so forth. And these religions tend to be a little bit out of touch in the modern realm in some cases. And many people are finding the appeal of what's called universal culture. That's my preferred term for this that I picked up somewhere on the internet from one of the smart people like lesswrong.com or Tyler Cohen, one of those folks. Gwern, one of those super smart all around people. And the universal culture is like McDonald's, shopping malls, television, TikTok, fashion. It used to be called Western culture, but that's not true because like K-pop's not Western, but it's spreading around the world. Universal culture because it's food, fun, dancing, and hedonism. And it's so compelling that a lot of people are losing touch with their ancestral religions that don't let them indulge into that sort of thing. And so what we've seen for generations is a mass exodus from religion, and
It's a exodus from religion into consumerism. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, like this global consumerist market that people are seeing the appeal of. That's what I'm following right now, and that's where the critical. But okay, so he's arguing there's this sort of universal culture that people are, and religion is. Individual cultural religions are losing their appeal in the context of this universal culture.
and no surprise, a concomitant loss of meaning in many people, especially young people.
True.
Religion is losing its grip on the newer generations, and that's resulting in the good thing of like not as many of them are like insane fanatical fundamentalists that are trying to blow up the world, but the bad thing is that a lot of them are left with not a whole lot of purpose to their lives and maybe some missing pieces.
Okay, yeah. So what he's kind of identifying is similar to what Nietzsche identified just a few centuries before, as religion, as he's observing it, is dying in Western civilization. As religion is dying in Western civilization, we need something to replace it, and arguably that's what he's going to try to come up with. And I think Nietzsche tried to do that centuries ago. Ultimately, I think he failed, but let's see another attempt.
And there have been a few kind of bubblings up of potential replacements for the traditional religions. I'm going to talk about 3 of them, and I'm going to say those 3 are fine. They have some downsides. I'm going to propose my own. That's right. It's called Israelism. Working on a name. Just kidding. Please do not call it Israelism, for the love of God. I know a lot of you contrarians in the comments are going to do exactly that. So you already called it out. Now you're not contrarian. First option that's bubbled up for replacing the religions is actually just even more intense religion, or coming back to religion. A return to hardcore Christianity, Judaism, Islam, so on and so forth. And a lot of this has been sort of the doubling down on kind of old school values and practices. For example, women staying at home more, trad wife, or whatever the hashtag trad wife, traditional kind of a wife that stays at home, more sexual abstinence. A lot of young, very attractive girls who've kind of gone through the TikTok OnlyFans milling machine and come out the other side with their sanity intact, or like, no more, I'm a born again virgin, all this other stuff, which is dope.
So I don't think that returning to religion implies sort of returning to the modern culture's view of what traditional Christianity is. I think religion as a social institution evolves and addresses the problems of the time. But I do think a return to that framework is needed, and I think what we've seen most of the time is any attempt to replace that ultimately leaves us missing something and missing some sort of meaning. But I think this, let's continue listening to what he has to say about this.
And there are definitely upsides of the approach of kind of return to the religions of antiquity. It does give a lot of people who feel completely unmoored from any kind of purpose or community deep meaning and connection, which is a big deal. That's why they're doing it. That's why they're coming back, sometimes in droves. But there are problems with this approach. One problem is that major religions don't always get along well with each other. Another more accurate way to state that is they almost always fight each other. When you're saying you're the one true faith and there's at least 2 or 3 other megalith faiths that also say they're the one true faith, they tend to fight a lot, and that's not great. And another big problem is that a lot of the edicts they have in their core books.
So I mean, just expand the correct one. But I don't know. If you are dictating everyone and their beliefs, maybe that seems to be a problem in like the mind of the person who's deciding what everyone believes. But I think that's a problem with any system, with any set of beliefs. There's some general principle that everyone might come together and agree on. Like, for example, Christianity versus Islam. They come together, agree that there is a God, or they believe in secular humanism. But some sects within it have some belief at what secular humanism entails. Like, communists have one belief, capitalists might have another, and they will fight as well. This is more of a problem of human nature than a problem with a specific system of religion. But
are like kind of outdated to some extent. If you examine the way many fundamentalist sects of Islam treat women, it just doesn't line up with like what we know women as biological humans want. It doesn't cause a good time for them. They don't really like it, and so it's kind of a tough sell in the modern context. Going back to traditional Judaism means you just like no longer expose your elbows or knees to the public and all this other stuff, and just a lot of stuff that just kind of like had its time, and most people are just not interested anymore. So it's a tough sell.
I think there is a need to evolve to address the culture while still believing in the essentials of what Christianity is. But he's also talking about like Islam and Judaism in that particular thing. So I don't have to defend Christianity there.
And I would say another problem, and this is the main problem for me as a person who's almost certainly never coming back to traditional religion, is that if you're scientifically literate and you're a skeptical person, Traditional religions are kind of a non-starter for you because they require you to have faith, which a friend of mine has once defined, I think, accurately as belief without reason. And it's really, really difficult to just take the pill and say, I believe this for no good reason at all. And it's worse than that because if you read...
That's a bit of a misframing of what Christianity argues. Obviously, you need some to believe in a God and to have that belief. You need to believe in something that you don't see directly, but putting your trust in a historical figure like Christ, and based on evidence. And I mean, this is stuff I've gone over enough on my channel where I think that it is, I don't think it's belief without reason. I think there are rational reasons to trust the account of Christ in history. And I know in the modern world it is framed as, and Christians do the same thing too, as science and skepticism versus religion. I think science and skepticism ultimately, when applied correctly in a proper framework, lead you back to religion, lead you back to Christianity, especially when you apply skepticism to whatever worldview you end up moving towards after you're religious. But
most of the older religious texts, there's all kinds of stuff that happens in there that seems like strained credulity at best, and at worst is like utter nonsense for children. Like Lord of the Rings seems more convincing a recitation of history than many of these books. And I don't mean to crap on traditional religions at all. The faith-based component is amazing, and they have tons of value, and I have mega respect for everyone that believes in them. But if you're very, very skeptical and you're very scientifically literate and into that, it just becomes kind of like an impossibility for you to swallow a pill that size. The alternative for many people...
I think there's this this issue of once you get so scientifically involved, you're so confident in our ability to know everything, I think you miss certain things that we just don't know and that we can't know. We get very confident in our own world and our own perspective and our own way of seeing things, and we end up hyper focusing on that and missing certain other things. But okay, he's gonna get into other alternatives, so I want to let him like lay out his framework.
That couldn't swallow that pill or didn't like the restrictions of antiquity religions and didn't like the fact that they fight a lot, got into a couple of other things, points 2 and 3, or 2 and 3 other approaches. Approach number 2, the first one was going back into more religion.
I know this is hard.
I hate ads. Okay.
Approach number 2 is to get into what I just like jokingly call leftist cult shit. And that's, the religions of kind of anti-industrialism, environmentalism, social justice, wokeism.
Oh, I'm not going to
BLM,
have much to say
that
about
whole
this.
Agglomeration of ideas. College camp.
I have, this is what I was critiquing earlier, replacing religion with a new sense of meaning in a Nietzschean sense.
Campus hyper-left situation. And there are many upsides to this approach. It's amazing on environmentalism in the sense that they really deeply care about the environment, amazing for animal rights, amazing for ethical farming practices, so on and so forth. And it's awesome in the spirit energy of wanting to help people who are less fortunate and recognizing that massive inequities that have bubbled up over time are really a big, big problem. And they are, and this is super, super valid. So almost all these people that are on the hardcore left and essentially in almost every meaningful way have that as their religion, almost all of them are coming from the best possible place. Like sheer bleeding heart, giving a shit about the world around them, and especially the downtrodden people in their midst, which is one of the most beautiful things you could ever describe or see. However, there are problems with this approach. These types of faiths, and they are faiths, require you to hamstring your world understanding capability severely. There's legit a lot of stuff that you're not even allowed to question. It may be true to say you're allowed to question almost nothing except for the prevailing ideas that they want you to question. So, like, do white males have more power than need in society? Question that. But, are some groups of people more prone to crime than others? Are some genders better at some things than others? Are some groups of people and some religions more prone to XYZ bad or good things? Is like anathema. You can't even start
Spirit
these conversations because you're Hitler right off the bat. And for people that are skeptical worldview and rationalists and scientifically literate, there's only so much hardcore leftism you can take until you're like, we're just make-believing all of this. And a lot of this is just false straight up and contradictory to the truth. They tell you to shut up. They tell you you're racist. And then you're out and you're like, oh, do I go back to Christianity or what the hell is going on? You're just not welcome there. And very unfortunately, most of these hardcore leftist approaches are actually backwards on helping real people. Like a lot of the ways the political left understands wealth generation and wealth distribution is to...
I wonder if his objective religion is just going to be rational science or whatever that means.
recode our laws and practices in such a way that kick wealth generation right in the dick. And so, like, if you want to make nations that are capable of producing lots of value dependably poor, you make them socialist/communist. And then they just get really poor, or they get wealthier, but at a much slower rate than they are capable of by a factor of 10. And so because wealth is the thing that helps poor people, by definition, and you have to have wealth to take from rich people, even if that's how you help the poor, then you kind of want the rich to be as rich as possible so you can kind of take more from them. But that doesn't add up to hardcore leftists, and we're left with like, okay, their intentions are good, but the results of hardcore leftism is just like mega overregulation, mega crushing innovation, mega reductions in wealth accretion, and just all kinds of really bad stuff. So that's just like something that history has more or less resolved as a thing that's true. And it works in gradations as well. The most extreme leftist regimes are Cuba and North Korea. Venezuela, they're in destitute poverty. Less extreme, Vietnam, China are like working at half the operating capacity they could if they were more liberated. And then, you know, places like much of Southern Europe are like more left-leaning than places like Northern Europe and the United States and New Zealand, Australia, and they like just underperform compared to the United States, New Zealand, Australia, Northern Europe. So it works the whole graded spectrum. And so that's not great. That's not great because we want progress, but you know these folks also call themselves progressive, but like a lot of their policies as predicted and tested and vetted by economic theory and empirical practice actually are regressive. So bad deal. Next is the kind of a third way.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have much to say on point two because I don't have much to add to that. I think, yeah, obviously this hyper leftism is not a great thing. Not a great thing to replace religion with, and I doubt I'll have much to say on this third one.
And that's what I've termed, just for the purposes of this discussion, what I would call a libertine self-direction. It's kind of a combination of it's all on you to make your own meaning. Because here's the thing, traditional religions give you deep...
Ooh, this is like almost an objectivist sort of view.
...meaning, if you accept the texts. Modern hyper-leftist approaches to the world...
Or I guess more like existentialist.
...give you real deep meaning. I mean, social justice caricatures your entire position in the world, and it's got a whole chart of where you belong and how you're supposed to give to the less fortunate. If you buy all that stuff, and you're good to go. But the libertine approach is like you make your own meaning. Meaning it is what it is, which is cool,
existentialism.
but also leaves you with kind of no meaning unless you pretend your own meaning into existence or somehow devise it. True. It's a combination of that and hedonism, like do fun shit because you only live once, so on and so forth. Like life is about the living and let's have fun now. And
I actually ultimately think objectivism devolves into this, but
don't worry about the future or deep meaning. Like life is about your friends and those you love and good meals and good laughs and travel and shit like that, which is dope. And it has upsides, right?
Well, because, and also just to be clear, to explain the critique of objectivism a little bit more. Objectivism ultimately says do what is in your rational self-interest, and that is what meaning derives from. But wait, sorry, real question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but are you abstinent because of Christianity? I think that is a complicated question because I did not become a Christian until relatively recently. I think that's a more complicated topic, I think, and a very more personal topic as well. but like, yeah, I'm not a virgin. I've in the past, and I think there's a lot of like, I don't know, questions that I have about certain things around those topics within Christianity, and I don't think I've fully worked out what my opinion is and exactly why I believe certain things. I'll give you an answer. I think there's questions that I have about the exact reason why sex is confined until marriage, and I think ultimately the purpose of that is to confine sex to monogamous committed relationships, and I think that's a strong rationality and a strong reason for it, because there's a lot of bad stuff that can come from promiscuity, and I don't think and I think promiscuity is where the Christian view on sex is ultimately directed against, and I think ultimately that is what I'm against as well. And how that specifically applies to specific relationships, I think, is a more personal question, and I know some Christians will have very strong opinions one way or the other, but that's kind of what I am working through when thinking about this issue in particular. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Has downsides. So the upsides is that the libertine approach doesn't presuppose to know anything or make belief like magical men in the sky or inverse laws of economics into existence. However, so that's good. That's good. Another good thing is people have evolutionary drives like sex and dancing and music and art that they want to do that don't directly produce value at all times. And like traditional religions say, those things are either done.
Sorry, I was talking about objective. I don't know if I drew this critique out fully enough, but so the point was ultimately like the standard of value for an objectivist is their own rational self-interest, their own life, but defining what that is and discovering what that is ultimately a very individual question where you're using your own mind, and ultimately it does come down, because not everyone's minds have different capacities for thinking long run and thinking in terms of these values, and if each person is in charge of defining their own values, their own mind as the standard for determining that and defining that is not always going to choose the stuff that's in their long-term best interest. Ultimately, it's going to come down to life maximization. And what that means, depending on the person, could be different things like just experience maximization, have as many experiences as possible, and experience the most joy and pleasure possible. And I think there's a very real way that can lead someone just directly into hedonism, because making hedonistic decisions seem to align very closely with your own rational self-interest. And there's not a good way that you have within your own mind, and under the objective is your own mind, like evolved mind with these evolutionary drives and desire to rationalize certain behaviors. You don't, and potentially not even the capacity to think long run in a lot of these instances. There's a lot of issues there, and I think ultimately it does devolve to hedonism, and I think it devolves into what this guy is likely critiquing next.
Religious context, or they're bad and sinful and not at all. The hardcore left, God knows what they think about this. Kind of depends on who you are and what kind of dancing, music, and sex you're doing, unless you're of a certain kind of group, and then you can do all of it. But if you're of a certain kind of group, it's appropriation. Who the hell knows? They're really confused about this. But at least the libertine approach says, look, like, even if you're super pro-creation and pro-hard work and all this other stuff, if you just try to stop doing all of these fun things because you have the internal evolutionary drives, it'll make you miserable or insane or radically less productive. So at least we have to have an avenue to express them, which is super, super dope. So there's a lot to say for enjoying life in the now, 100%. But the problems with this libertine approach is that it doesn't give people involved in it anything really community connected or anything deep, grand, beyond themselves meaning connected to rest their foundation on. Like, if you're just a pure hedonist, like, I don't know, man, it's just not giving you that, it's not filling I think it's a Jonathan Haidt quote of, it's not putting anything into your God-shaped hole inside your head. And we all have one of those. So it's
Wait, who did he attribute? That's Pascal, isn't it?
into your God-shaped hole. not filling the, I think it's a Jonathan Haidt quote of, it's not.
Wait, that's Pascal, right? It's not height. Yeah, that is Pascal. That's funny that he attributes it to Jonathan Haidt, though. Maybe Haidt was quoting Pascal, but it really shows, like, I don't know, they're very like this is a very like modern brain producing this, like someone who has read a lot of like modern thinkers and thought about a lot about of like modern problems, which is good. But I think he's very much in this modernist mindset and not seeing where everything he's saying kind of ties back towards history. But I want to hear his fourth way, his solution to all this.
Putting anything into your God-shaped hole inside your head, and we all have one of those. So it's unfulfilling, and like YOLO is just not a fulfilling daily life philosophy.
And note that this hole is God-shaped. If he's not proposing God, what is he proposing?
Philosophy, you know, even in the grand scheme, for sure not fulfilling, and sometimes even.
He's like, this is like a real cliffhanger. Maybe I should just end the stream before I get to his view. Daily
life is not fulfilling because most people seem empirically, as tested, as revealed by examination and interviews and observations, most people want to work towards something that has a deep meaning, and they want to feel connected to a community that they can feel a part of. And the libertine approach just does not give them that. So like libertarians are an awesome political party, they're great people individually, but like calling yourself a libertarian doesn't mean something to you deeply in some way that organizes you and those around you in a society is a non-starter because it's kind of a contradiction in terms. And so all of these have their upsides and downsides, and some contexts are really good for some and some contexts are really good for others, but I want you to consider an alternative path forward. And
okay, let's hear it.
I have a big advantage on this path, because it's totally objective, this framing of the view, this new religion I want to introduce you to, and it only requires really kind of one, maybe two postulates. The one postulate is that you personally want.
Bruh.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus.
Man, I'm getting tired. The first postulate is that you want
to live longer. You want like tomorrow to occur. And you, maybe part two related, is that you want life on Earth to exist for longer. Two postulates. You're just pro-life. Pro your life and everyone else. There's really one postulate is like you're pro-life. You want life to continue tomorrow, which means your life.
Why? Why should they care? You're not filling the meaning gap. It's just... Okay.
And everyone else's life. And I'll say...
Why and how do you determine that? Of course, I want that. I'm... It's just stripping everything back. How you actually achieve that could be done through religion, could still be done through... leftism, could still be done through this libertine, existentialist, hedonistic approach. You're not actually giving someone that framework that provides them meaning. Okay, let's...
This is a bit curt, a bit rude. I do mean this, but in all the best way. If you don't care about either of those, because I was trying to anticipate critiques, so if you're like hair flipping goth kid, you know what I mean, Scott, like... nothing matters, brah. Like, yeah, sure, you're just having a bad time because you got bullied at school. But if you really don't care about life on Earth, and if you don't care about your own life, is no worries to me. I'm not trying to especially to convince you, because then you don't matter much in the grand scheme. Because if you don't care about your own life, you're not going to be around much longer. And if you don't care about life on Earth, whenever you die of your own natural life, whatever life on Earth still is moves on without you. So it's kind of... You know, like we'd love to have you on the team, but if you're just not on the team, then no big deal. I'm not trying to like get you in a religion you hate. And if you're against your own life, that's a you thing. But if you're against life on Earth, then you're evil in the core way that almost all humans understand that term. So be easy, bro, and reconsider. Because if you're against life on Earth, or you're against like, I remember like once I was debating a girl, she's very vegan and just had a lot of feelings. And she said she hated humanity and we should be less humans. And I can't believe I did this. In retrospect, this is a very legally exposing thing, but I was younger. And I was DMing with her and I was like, why don't you start with yourself? And she literally didn't understand what I was saying. She's like, why would you say something so nasty to me? And I was like, well, you're against humanity. She's like, yes. I'm like, you're human. She's like, yes. I'm like, you can start with number one. You can just get rid of yourself and you're well on your way to doing a good thing. And at some point she understood what I was saying. And she's like, oh. And I was like, do you get it? She's like, I get it. I was like, are you going to think about not doing that? Because I'm being facetious. I don't want you to do it. And she's like, yeah, no, you're right. I get your point. I'll give this some thought. I never heard from her again, so I just assume I've just killed somebody by proxy. JK, still around. But it was one of those things where, you know, she was like, yeah, like, fuck humanity or whatever. And you're like, you can't mean that. And if you do mean that, the CIA should probably know about you because you're like enemy of the humans of the world.
Okay, you're saying he's about to answer me, but I'm not sitting through another. Like, I gave my take on what I heard so far. It feels like a nothing burger right now, but...
You know, like when the aliens come from fucking Mars or whatever and they're trying to kill us all, like, you're on their team now? Like, what the hell is going on, right? So that's the idea, is you're pro-life. That's the religion. Pro your own life, continuing into tomorrow. Pro everyone around you, also continuing into tomorrow. And so what does a pro-life religion get us? Does it get us anything actionable outside of like philosophy, debate, BS? Because I could just stop here and you'd be like, all right, it's nice. Like, what does that mean? Gets us a ton of stuff. In the classical religions, God made the world, he's in charge, so no worries on the grand scheme, he's got it covered more or less. Like, here's the grand scheme, you're good. And your life matters, but in the service of the grand scheme, your life is relatively expendable. Also, there's an afterlife, so no big deal. And even if, you know, like you toast half the world's people, as long as it conserves the good people on your side of the religion, kind of good to go. This has been like what religions just do kind of all the time, more or less. In the modern leftist or libertine understanding, all is also well with wealthier people, because when you're wealthy, your life is totally good, you're good to go, and we should use...
Okay, wait, before he goes into this, I want to kind of explain just the fundamental issue that I have with this whole approach. He's just going out there and saying these two things, like, yeah, we should care about life, we should care about life in general, and then also care about our own life continuing. And that's fine, that's good, I agree with those things. The problem that I feel like he's missing, maybe somewhere in this hour long, which I'm probably not going to watch on this stream just because we're already at 2 hours and I'm getting tired, is the issue, the thing that these religions are trying to address. It's trying to give you a reason why. And without that, without having a deeper reason why you should care about these two individual things, you haven't got anywhere. You haven't added anything to this conversation. You're just saying we should have meaning. We should care about life. But it's not getting beyond that, because the problem is, where does meaning come from? Why do we have meaning? Why do we care about life? And that's what he's not answering. He's just asserting. He's just asserting the things that he's trying to give a basis for justifying. But let's continue on. I want to see if he addresses that point.
Use wealth if you're libertine to have happiness in the everyday and the now, but if you are on the left, then we should use wealth to give to the people that are less fortunate, because how can we possibly justify having billionaires exist when some people don't have enough to eat, take the billionaires' money and give it to the poor people, which on vibes is super, super dope. But overall, once we give everyone the money and the societies all equal, then we're good to go. Like, problem solved. Like, maybe like communist China, or some kind of, in some ideal world, some version of communist China would be like, hey, like, mission accomplished. Like, now we just, like, you know, at the end of all these, like, tail end of the implications of all the leftist philosophy, it's
see you later,
once
Charles.
people are equal, what do we do? It's like, we'll live in like a utopia. Like, okay, well, what does it look like? Well, people make music and they make art and they have access to resources and they just kind of like continue. Like, dope. So all is well too in that case. But I think all of these miss a really, really critical thing. That's the realest thing I'm ever going to fucking tell you. Realest thing I'll ever tell you. We are not insured our survival. None of us. Why not? If you live in the developing world, you could die of malnutrition or exposure.
Yeah, good night, Charles. Have a good one.
Or poisoning tomorrow. So when people in the developing world have a religion that tells them fundamentally they're okay, they are being told a grand lie. They're not okay. Not even close. In the developing world and in the developed world,
Oh man, I see. This has a lot of parallels to objectivism. It's like this life is the foundation. I think the problem ultimately, I think it's a misframing of religion to say we shouldn't care about life because there's the afterlife, so we're good. Christianity is about a revitalization of this world, not about just getting to the afterlife, getting to heaven. So that's one thing. I think the problem is going to be with, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about before with my critique of objectivism, because the way he's setting this up very much parallels the objectivist ethics and like this whole thing of like life is the standard, life is the one thing we naturally must care about. The whole reason we must act is to live on to tomorrow. So I think it falls into some of those, and I think I kind of got the gist of what this video is going to be about. I don't want to sit through another 40 minutes of this reacting to it. I will watch this video and finish it later, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll maybe comment on it next stream and we can talk about this further. But I think and also since Charles is leaving, he was the one who I was talking about this with anyways, and he recommended the video. I think what ultimately fails is how we get there, how we know what is good for life, how we know fundamentally what it means to live on another day and what it means for humanity to continue living on forever. What does that take? What does it take for us to flourish in that? And I think ultimately it stems from an understanding of our own nature. And I think that's where he will fundamentally fail. We can talk about evolution. We can talk about our need to survival. We can talk about all of this, but we don't actually reach, without God is my thesis, without religion, without Christ, without man, the God man, we don't actually reach a fundamental understanding of ourselves, of who we are. And in that case, we will never truly live. We will not live on another day. We won't flourish. We won't be happy. I think, yeah, I think this, I think this fundamentally fails in the same way that Rand's system fails. Without God, we don't know our nature, and we don't know what it takes for us to live on and flourish and thrive, and for humanity to continue on forever. And it doesn't address the fundamental meaning gap. I mean, sure, we can care a lot about our lives, which I'm guessing is where he's going to go with this, but it doesn't give us that why. It doesn't fill the God-shaped hole in our hearts. Either way, he brought up that very quote. And yes, sure, it is the case maybe that hedonism doesn't bring us life continuing on the next day, and the continuation of humanity. But also, like, without a higher power, why should we care about humanity itself continuing on forever? Of course, it's great. The individual, like, obviously, sure, I'll care about myself. But why should I extend that beyond myself? I'm only concerned with my life. My life is the only one I'm conscious of. So I think there are issues with this framework, with this viewpoint, with just this whole take on religion. I think Christ is the only religion that actually fills that need and ultimately fills that hole in our hearts. But I hope all of you guys enjoyed, because this was a long stream. It is a holiday, but I should get about doing other things. I gotta go hang out with my fiance. So it was great talking with you guys. hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to go down below and critique me. This was a fun stream, though. I feel like I really enjoyed the stream, and got to talk about a lot of stuff, which was super cool. So yeah.